I don't want to get stuck making the same thing for the rest of my life. Like I want to keep pushing and pushing and pushing.
Ashley, welcome to Shaping Your Pottery, and share with me what is something people might not know about you.
Well, thank you, Nick, for having me on your podcast. Something people might not know about me. This was a hard one because I'm pretty open with a lot of things. But when I actually turned 20, I was diagnosed with a super rare virus/disease that you get from an infected mosquito bite. And I was supposed to be starting undergrad, and I missed the entire first week of undergrad. I'm in the hospital. I can see, like, my undergrad had this huge sculpture in their campus, and I could see that from my hospital window. So it was like, ah. But so that was a really weird moment in time because I've never been to the hospital for anything, and here I am, like, deathly ill and being teased with this. I was like envisioning everyone making friends, and I'm like the weirdo that comes in a week later. But yeah, they diagnosed me and everything was fine, but I thought I was going to die while I was there. So that's kind of played a role in my work since then.
Glad you're here, and I'm excited to hear. I'm excited to hear how that applies back into your work. So, tell me the story how you got started with ceramics.
Well, I did get to go to undergrad, thank God. And I was signed up for advertising and graphic design, right? And it's the classic story, right? We had to take a fine arts class, so I picked ceramics because I was like, oh, that'll be easy. Like, I've seen people do that on the wheel, blah. And took the class. And my teacher was amazing, and he kind of convinced me to switch to fine arts, and all downhill from there. No, I'm just kidding. That was it.
So, tell me about the moment when you decided to become a full-time potter.
That was actually about a month and a half ago, believe it or not. So it's pretty recent. The last couple of years, I mean, I've been selling my work for a while through my own website and galleries, but the last, or 2 years ago, I guess now, was like my best year yet. And I made more money than I've ever made in a year, which wasn't like a lot. I'm not like, woo, like super rich. I mean, I went to undergrad and grad school, so clearly I didn't make a lot of money. So I did that. And I was like, wow, this is actually, like, I didn't realize how much money I made until I did my taxes. And I was like, okay, this could be a thing. But my husband and I, we wanted to buy a house, right? And the mortgage companies don't really like seeing that you're self-employed. So I was offered part-time, full-time gig. And I took it just really so I could get the loan for the house. And I hope they don't watch this. But I just found myself like at this desk in a basement, like thinking about everything I could make. And I would actually, sketch during lunch and all that. But I would come home and scarf down some food and go to the studio downstairs anyway and be working till midnight and wake up, go to work. And I didn't really make too much work this past year because I was working, my day job so much. And I was just miserable. Like, I hated it. I want to make stuff all the time, all day, every day. It's like people have hobbies, but it's like my hobby is kind of like what I can make decent money with. So I talked with my husband. Luckily, he was offered a full-time position at his work and he loves his job and it just worked out. So I quit my day job and now I'm full-time in it.
What would you say has been your biggest struggle since going full-time?
It's easy to get distracted, like especially if you have a home studio, right? It's like, oh, I could throw in a load of laundry and then go trim these cups or whatever. That's kind of the biggest struggle is getting distracted being in your house. But I think the main thing is you just need to have like a structure and some sort of schedule that you stick to every day.
So, what is your structure and schedule that you try to stick to?
So I wake up, my husband, he goes to work he leaves at like 7:40. And so when he leaves, I'll go for like a morning walk for like an hour. And that kind of gets me thinking and in the mindset of the studio, like, because I try to get, new ideas. Like I don't want to get stuck making the same thing for the rest of my life. Like I want to keep pushing and pushing and pushing until I die. But so I'll go for a walk and then I'll come home and get the coffee going, and then go down. We have a basement studio, and just get to work down there until really till about dinner time. Then I'll make dinner and we eat, and then I go back downstairs.
Dang, you are in there like all day. I love that.
Yeah, well, my husband, he does ceramics too, so it's not like we're not around each other because he'll come home from work and go downstairs too, and so it's kind
I
of
love
nice.
that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So let's talk about your pottery. In one sentence, can you tell me what you make?
Oh, I hate this because I just ramble on about everything. So I make sculptures and sculptural pottery that deal with coping mechanisms in a humorous way.
So can you tell me the story how you started making this type of pottery?
Let's see. I mean, everything kind of meshes together, so it's weird to like think of like a definitive moment in time where it was like eureka. But thinking, I went to Watershed in Maine. It's a residency, and we had to share like it was like a goofy way where we did like some sort of workshop for everyone, and I did like a kick wheel demonstration. But I've never used a kick wheel in my life, so really I just kicked a kick wheel, like I physically kicked it, and told a story about my childhood that was like traumatic. So the kicking was kind of like a way to like deal with my angst about that story. In that, while I was at the residency, I was kind of trying to make like different work and like branch out to other things. And after I told that story, one of the other people that were there, they were like, "Why don't you make work about that?" And I was like, that's kind of a good idea. So that was kind of like a snowball effect from there, thinking about where that stemmed from.
So can you tell me, so you mentioned that you went to Watershed. Can you tell me what is something that you learned from being at Watershed that really helped you with your own pottery?
Something I learned at Watershed, honestly, was to take breaks and have fun. Everybody would get up super early, and we'd eat breakfast. They had amazing meals at Watershed, first of all. But we would get started in the studio, and we'd go take a break and jump in the river or jump in the lake. And there's like this super secret lake off on this like long walk, and I like jumped off a rock into the lake with everyone. And the last thing I saw as I jumped in the water, they were all like, and they were like, "You were so close to hitting the rock. Like, you're not allowed to do that ever again." But yeah, don't take breaks, but be safe.
Love that. I love going to the lake, like where I'm at, like it's a 30-minute drive. I love going to the lake.
Ooh, see, that's nice. Yeah.
So you are inspired by the everyday life. Can you tell me how does this impact your own pottery?
So even going back to like the mosquito bite disease story, like you can't see it now, but there's like this giant mosquito sculpture to the side here. Like I made work about that. So like I said earlier, I make stuff about coping mechanisms. I'm inspired by the everyday. So like my food work deals with like overindulgence and meals of celebration, like ice cream and pizza. That's kind of like something that you eat with other people, or like my husband and I will eat ice cream at the end of a long day just to kind of unwind and get ready for bed. You can see like my super crazy floral pots. I mean, it looks wild, but it's really just, two cardinals with a worm mouth. It's really simple, like just about observing nature and gardening, and like I like to grow a garden from seeds and stuff like that. So just little things that add up to what I revolve my entire existence around.
I love that. So Shaping Nation, it's important to take moments from your life, whether it's like you enjoy eating pizza with somebody or just being around other people, and try putting that into your own pottery, because that's how your voice will truly start showing up, by putting those experiences into your own pottery. I love that so much. So now, can you give me a simplified explanation on how you think about creating your pottery?
Ooh, simplify. Let's see. So I do keep a sketchbook, right? it's super important for me just to have a sketchbook. Sometimes I'll think of an idea and I don't have time to like go make it right away, right? Because I'm in the middle of a series of work, or I have 20 pots that I'm working on in the moment. So very important to keep a sketchbook. And it depends on if I'm hand building or throwing, right? Because it's a very different mindset as far as the wet application with wheel throwing and then the dry aspect of hand building. Because it's way faster when you're hand building. Because the clay's already pretty dry. And it's a lot of waiting around when you're throwing, waiting for it to trim the pots and to add the handles and all that. But I tend to have everything going at once, so it's kind of chaos. So I try to keep lists, and I have my deadlines in my little calendar, just so I know how many pieces I need done by when it needs shipped by. I tend to push things to the limit though, and I'll sometimes be unloading a kiln that needs like wrapped up and shipped like that day. Because I don't know, like I'm never really satisfied with anything. Like I'm always thinking about the next thing. I'll pull something out and be like, okay, well, I wish I would have done this. But it sounds sad. I'm not like
Yeah. So
it's exciting every day.
how do you how do you manage that if you are trying to always like you're always trying to do new things? How do you manage that?
Well, I'll always like sometimes, I don't feel as inspired. So that'll be like the days where I'm making my bread and butter work that the galleries want, or I know that I could sell. And then I just try to have like some time to play, right? Especially if I see like a show deadline coming up that like a gallery that I really want to be in. Like I'll make work specifically for that call. Even if it'll tie into what I'm doing already, but I try to like push myself a little bit to fit the theme.
Right. Shaping Nation, I love that. Actually, I love that. Shaping Nation, it's important to do things that you know are selling well, that you know that will sell and are people like it. It's also important to have time to just play and do other things to help you expand your mind and to create new things. I love that so much. Now, what advice would you give to someone trying to add their own personality into their own pottery?
So like I said earlier, keeping a sketchbook is super important, and really like think about the thoughts that you have every day, or like what draws you in. Like, what's your favorite color? What's something you enjoy doing? Your favorite animal? Like, it could be that simple. And really just working at it every day and keep pushing, add something new. And that can lead to a new body of work, even, just adding little embellishments here and there. Like, I'm making the ice cream work, but I started adding like the whipped cream and little treats to it, and that got me into like a whole new body of work of making plates of food that look like faces. And it's just keep pushing yourself. Also, it's important to have the bread and butter work, but you can keep tweaking that in some way to really push it and take it one step further, and just keep taking those steps. Like there's not really an end point.
Definitely agree 100%. So before we go on to talking about discovering your own voice, do you think you could explain to me how you are creating your ice cream pottery right now?
Yeah, so I have like this slab mold that I made of a waffle cone, which I'm not even sure what it was that I made a mold of, but it was like this plastic mesh. I think it's like the bottom of an aquarium or something, like plastic mesh. I saw that and I was like, ooh, that'd be perfect for like a waffle cone. So I pressed a piece of clay into it and made a mold of that. So I'll start with a slab template that I made and push it into the waffle mold and then pinch the tops. I make a really thin slab and I have a handle template and I'll trace that out twice and then put those two pieces together and then shape it into, the handle shape and put it on to the pinched upper body. And then the little drips are just sculpted and slip and score it on. And I try to do this pretty quick. That way the tops can be still kind of wet because then I can push out the nose from the inside and make whatever animal I'm creating, add ears, the tail, and the butthole. And then I paint with underglazes the top and the bottom. Let's see. And then the sprinkles, I actually stain different colors of clay, and then I extrude with like a little hand extruder all these little tiny coils, let them dry, and then I crunch them up. Which I need to make an I made an oddly satisfying video, but I need to make a reel now because that's like the viral thing.
Yes.
Make a crunching sprinkle video. But so I crunch up the sprinkles and then I bisque fire them. So then I bisque everything, and then it comes out and it gets colored glaze on the inside and then clear coat on the outside. And I use a fan brush and put the sprinkles in like a little bit of the clear and use that fan brush and kind of scoop out the sprinkles and paint them on.
I love that. I think a lot of people will enjoy trying that out. I
Yeah.
just wanted to, because I do like your ice cream pottery that you are making right now. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it takes some time, and sometimes I'll like individually place the sprinkles too. Like sometimes I'll get somehow like it ends up I get like 5 red sprinkles all next to each other in a clump. It's like, come on, what are the odds of that? So I'll pick them off and change it up a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. So let's talk about discovering your voice. Can you tell me about the moment when you found your voice or you knew you were heading in the right direction?
I think when I first got invited to a show, because a lot of my peers they were already like getting into shows, and I was like, okay, this is like, how do I do this? But really, I just kept working at it, every single day, like all day. And I don't know, I think it's important to look at your past and think about things that you enjoy, like I said earlier, and what what excites you. And but the moment, I don't know, that watershed moment, which is kind of funny because that's actually a thing. But and when I came back, I started. I feel like I was kind of trying to make work I thought was trendy, and then after I came back from Watershed, I started kind of applying the things I was making in undergrad to what I was making in grad because I was in grad school at that time. So I think that's kind of when things clicked. Like I felt like I don't know, I was trying to like refrain from putting faces on things, which sounds crazy to think about now because like everything I make has a face. But for some reason, I thought that made it like folky or like out of style or something. And after that, I was like, no, like that's what I want to do. Like I enjoy sculpting faces and making cute things, and so I'm going to keep doing that.
I absolutely love that. Shaping Nation, it is so important for you to do the things that you enjoy making because that is where your voice is truly going to start showing up by doing the things that you enjoy. I don't know what you enjoy. Maybe you like cars, maybe you like ice cream, like Ashley here, but whatever you like, go do those things and apply those to your pottery. I love that so much. So, what would you say was your biggest obstacle when it came to discovering your own voice?
Like I just said, like I was trying to make what I thought was cool at the time, and I mean it was fun. Like I enjoy making stuff no matter what it is. Like I enjoy making garden beds or a sidewalk, but it wasn't really who I am, and I couldn't really like talk about the work. That was kind of when I realized that things needed to switch around when I couldn't defend what I was making, right? So getting over that and realizing that what I want to make is valid, I think that was the biggest obstacle.
Definitely agree 100%. I did the same exact thing. I thought for a long time, I thought I had to stick to wheel throwing and only do wheel throwing. And then I started branching out, and now I am making like my own like little superhero characters, and that is what I enjoy doing
Oh,
because that I'm a huge nerd and I like doing those type of things. And that is
awesome.
what that is what's bringing me joy, and I think it will help other people to do the same thing.
Definitely.
So, what is something you are doing to evolve your voice even further?
So I just try not to stick with one thing, right? So I do have kind of multiple bodies of work going at once, and it can be, overwhelming, but I embrace the overwhelming. So I try to take like bits and pieces of, different bodies of work and combine them to make something new. So really just keeping it exciting and every day pushing myself and trying new things.
I love that. So, as we are coming to a close here, what advice would you give to someone trying to discover their own unique voice with their pottery?
Just stay true to yourself. I mean, definitely take in influence from others, but don't let that change who you are, right? Like, especially in
Definitely
grad
agree.
school, I kind of struggle with that. But that's kind of the point of grad school was they try to get you to question what you're doing because if you can't back it up and you change it, then that means it wasn't really authentic to you. So just stay true to yourself and keep working every day. Even if you get a rejection letter, it doesn't matter. That's just one juror's or, however many jurors' opinion of your work. So keep going.
Definitely agree 100%. Ashley, it was so great chatting with you today. Where can my audience go and learn more about you?
So my Instagram is just Ashley Bevington, ASHLEYBEVINGTON. And then my website is ashleybevington.com.